Well, in a Fox Carolina investigation, it's been 7 months since an arrest revealed the horrors happening at one upstate assisted living facility. The owner still faces criminal charges of neglect.
And since then, we've been asking, how could the conditions inside get so bad? Tonight, we want to share with you what we found. Now, Oakridge Community Care was shut down in February when owner Daryl Mast was arrested and charged with neglect, exploitation, and breach of trust with fraudulent intent. When officials got inside the home in Inman, they found a bed bug infestation so bad residents had to leave almost all of their belongings behind. The documents requested by Fox Carolina show this was just one of the issues residents were dealing with, and it's been going on for years. Records show the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control knew about it, but did little to change it.
Well, Fox Carolina's Grace Runkle joins us live in studio now to explain how the system failed these people. Grace.
Well, to this day, we have never been able to set foot inside Oakridge Community Care home, but thanks to some detailed complaints, we don't need to understand how poor conditions were. They also show us who let the care facility get even worse. Imagine this. One day, you realize you need help. Maybe you got in an accident or are struggling with your mental health. It could be you reached an age where you need a little extra assistance. Your budget is limited, and moving in with family isn't an option. So instead, you turn to a community residential care facility. It's not quite a nursing home, but an assisted living facility staffed with people to make sure you have what you need. You move in and slowly realize things aren't right. Sometimes you don't get your medication. Other times your personal allowance disappears. And at night you can't sleep because you feel bed bugs crawling on your skin. You can't afford to leave, or even if you could, you aren't able to drive. You thought you were getting help, but now you're trapped. According to more than 40 complaints, that was life for some residents at Oakridge Community Care in Inman for the last decade. We poured through each of these, going all the way back to 2011. People filed these complaints asking DHEC for help. Investigators followed up and in 32 cases found owner Daryl Mast violated the regulations meant to keep residents safe. Almost half of the complaints mention bug infestations. More than a quarter say residents weren't getting their medication. Take this one, for example. March 8, 2019. Someone anonymously reports the facility has bed bugs. Meds aren't being given, and the on-site pharmacy isn't doing reviews. An investigation happens 10 days later. A DHEC employee finds the complaint was true. Daryl Mast, who owned the facility, submits a plan detailing how he will fix the problems. Officials approve it, but 10 more complaints about bugs were filed before the facility finally closed. These images were from an inspection in November 2020. These from May 2021. Both times, Mast told DHEC he'd fix it, but the problem only got worse. So bad, the county condemned the building just 3 days after Mast's arrest. But other complaints reveal a different issue entirely. Oakridge couldn't keep track of its residents. August 26, 2021. A complaint says a resident had a doctor's appointment. They arrived at the office without any identification or paperwork. All the resident had was a sticky note with a phone number. The resident had trouble answering the doctor's questions, so they called the number 3 times. No answer. Eventually, the number called back. It was Oakridge, but they said the resident wasn't theirs. A few calls later, and Oakridge tells the doctor's office they have to call the transportation company that dropped off the resident. They give a number, but when the doctor's office calls it, they say they have no record of transporting the resident. Another call is made to Oakridge. They say they made a mistake and tell the doctor's office they would pick up the resident. The complaint ends saying, "We waited 2.5 hours for a ride with no knowledge of what was going on or where the resident needed to go." DHEC investigated but found no violations. Losing residents happened again and again. In 2017, a complaint says residents wandering off property was common. Oftentimes, they're looking for food. In one specific instance, a resident crawled down the road to another house. DHEC found Oakridge in violation, yet the facility continued to operate and take in more residents for 5 more years. Now, we have been asking DHEC what happened here because there are so many of these facilities in our state. In fact, more than 470, but DHEC has yet to do a sit-down interview with us. And by looking through reports from many different state agencies, we found the problems at Oakridge are not unique. And according to the Department on Aging, the most common issue here is cleanliness. Justin, Tori.
Oh, Grace, I know you had mentioned a lot about DHEC and their findings there, but at any point they take further steps to try to get Mass to fix the conditions there at Oakridge?
Well, in January this year, DHEC did issue an administrative order, and that recapped all of those issues we just told you about found during their past investigations. Officials then handed down a fine, a $19,000 fine for Oakridge, but again, they were allowed to continue to operate. And as we know from Mass arrest, a month later, conditions weren't any better. And I will add, we've reached out to Mass several times since February, and he has declined to comment.